I'm determined to leave broadcasting better for females and for young men, not just for women, but to help prepare them, because I really didn't have that when I was younger. I mean, I'd say this too, Jess, I went to Syracuse going back. As a grad student, I was there, and I had a female research professor, but I did not have any females who taught in the industry, in the business. Now, the way Syracuse does it, one of the reasons they're able to maintain their lofty status as one of the best broadcast schools in the country is because you have to be in the business to be a professor of whatever it is that you're teaching. So I'm an adjunct professor and I teach radio, but I have to be working in radio because that gives some extra credibility. And my students have said to me, we don't have any other female professors in Newhouse, which is the school specifically for broadcast journalism. So it's still, there's lots of doors to push open. There's lots of walls to kick down. There's lots of ceilings to crack, but it's fun to do it. I definitely think it's a better space and I don't want to say easier because this business is not easy, but it's a more inviting space for women now. And I hope that there are more young women who are interested in the art of radio, in the theater of the mind, because I do think there are more opportunities.
I agree.
And also, program directors too. We need program directors. Okay. We need producers who are women. We need general managers who are women. The more that happens, the more that the doors will open up. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's totally fine. I think that I'm glad you said that because there are so many different things we could do. I remember growing up, it was like only women could do sidelines and that was it. And that was still a rarity. And so I think it's cool to know that there are so many things that women can do in that space. And first and foremost, I did sell my soul to the digital devil, and I'm happy to say that. It introduced me to you, and it introduced me to so many other people. But so tell me a little bit about Syracuse and your teaching, because that's a new avenue that you've encroached on. What's that been like?
Oh, it's been a huge challenge because I can talk until I'm blue in the face and talk for hours a night with no one actually staring at me. But when you've got a bunch of teenagers, I have some teenagers who are sophomores, and then seniors and grad students who are looking at me. It's like when I go and I do a keynote speech of some sort. It scares me so much to be standing in a room where people are looking at me, even though on any given night, there are hundreds of thousands of people listening, and it could be athletes coming home from a road trip. It's coaches, it's other broadcasters. It just doesn't ever shake me because I'm in my safe space, my comfort zone, if you will. I've got everything the way I need it. I'm used to that. But to get out in front of students, and I have a couple of nieces who are recently graduated from college. And so I asked them, what do you need from a producer? What is it that makes a class worth taking? And also I have a friend, a young woman that I mentor who just graduated from CUSE about 4 years ago. And I asked her the same thing. Like, how do I make this a class that people will want to come back to? And so two things. It really is important to me to teach the art of a radio because when I was at CUSE, the philosophy, and I think it's still this way, if you know TV, you know radio. And that is not the case. I mean, because you do podcasts, you do radio, but you also are on camera. It's a completely different formula. It's a completely different type of broadcast. And it's not the same personal element that people get from radio a lot of times. And so I wanted a class that would speak to and help students craft their own radio style. Because if you're like me and you're a radio junkie, I have zero desire to be on camera. Only if you can craft your own style, well, the whole idea is that you'll stand out in what is a very crowded market where there are 8,932,000 podcasts out there. And so the whole idea is how do you build a show that is memorable and that is worth listening to, that people will continue coming back to? How do you stand out in a crowded field? And it's such different principles than being on camera. And so the whole idea is for them to and it's 4 classes until I'm done doing the overnight shift that I'm on. It's really hard to get up to campus and to be gone and do the drive and stuff more than the 4 weeks in a row that I'm doing it. So right now it's a 1-credit class, but I originally designed it to be a 3-credit over 11 weeks. Now we're kind of pushing it together, and they have assignments that are very practical, like prepare for an interview, any sports figure that you would like to talk to. How do you prepare for that interview? We talk about basic principles of research and also creativity. How do you take your voice, which it's not because you are good or bad at it, but just one voice is monotonous. How do you dress it up and add creative elements so that it becomes appointment listening, or so that, again, it stands out? Now, radio has this unique quality, maybe TV too, because people do fall asleep with the TV on, right? But radio can be background noise, or a podcast and be background noise? How do you dress up your broadcast, whatever it happens to be, in a way that it arrests people, and it's a full sensory theater of the mind? And I did this past weekend. My husband and I, we watched the new Mission Impossible movie, and it's crazy. It's nonstop, right? I played the trailer in class, and I didn't let them watch it. They could only hear it. And I asked them about the full body experience of this trailer that was created, not just those calm, kind of sinister moments, but, Tom Cruise's voice, obviously, his crazy stunts. You can hear the motorcycle in the background as he goes up that rise and leaps off, one of the nuttier stunts that we've ever seen in cinema history. But also, embedded is the theme, right? The MI theme. So they couldn't see it, but they could figure it out. And I asked them, what do you hear? Now, you've got people who make millions of dollars to put those trailers together. I'm not asking you to do that on your social media, but can you understand the idea of theater of the mind that is arresting for your senses? So that's kind of the idea, is it's building a radio show from the ground up and recognizing it is not, Jess, it is not walking into a studio or plugging in a microphone and just talking for 4 hours. If you do that, A, you won't last, and B, nobody's going to want to listen to you anyway.